This is the Staedtler Mars Lumograph Black, and this is a Blackwing matte. The major difference between these pencils is this has a built-in eraser, which is really, really nice. But what I wanted to see is how well does this compare to this? Because this pencil's cheaper. I mean, if you buy them by a dozen, there's a significant difference. But a lot of people think these Blackwings are really expensive. They're not really. They're $2.83 a piece. I mean, things like Caran d'Ache are like $5 a pencil. So just depends on what you're doing. What I wanted to do, though, is compare them directly. I'm going to do same thing I did last. I'm going to do some hatching and some shading just to kind of get an idea of how they look. And then I'm going to do is show you, this is hard to get a sharp point on, by the way. This is very crayon-like, so I'm just going to do some straight lines with it. So you get a nice point for a little while, then it starts to wear down. This wears down really fast. So this is the Mars here. It would help if I could actually write. Okay. And then we're going to do underneath, I'll just go across the page this way. So this is the Blackwing. Okay, so let's go. This is, okay. This is still a little darker than this is, but this is also, to be fair, this is a 2B, this Mars Lumograph, and this is actually it's like a 3 or 4B from what I've seen online. They claim 3B on Amazon, but on their website, it just says dark, like darkest or whatever. So let's just like cross hatching. I mean, I know it's not pretty cross hatching. I'm just doing it for the sake of showing you. Let's do a traditional sketchy ball thing, right? This is the Mars again. So I'm just going to do like a scribbly. I'm going very, very, very light. This pencil is a little scratchier than that one is, but not by a whole lot. I'm also directly on this piece of wood, so this isn't really, this is a plywood with like a laminate top, so take that as it were, as you will. Let me just try to very lightly doing that. Let me do the same thing for this one. A little big, but that's okay. And let's go very, very lightly touching the paper. That's it. Just using my wrist right now. I'm very, very lightly tapping to the best of my ability. I don't usually directly draw on sketch paper in here. I usually keep it on the pad so it's a little softer. Figured I would try it this way because I keep passing indentation. You can see the character the last time I did, so I was trying to get rid of that issue. When I draw obviously on vellum, it's really nice on this board. You can't tell. So the paper obviously does matter, but let me pull this up a little bit and do the same to the top. I'm not trying to compare like which one's darker. I'm actually trying to compare how they behave. This one is a soft pencil too, so and it's exactly the same grade as the other the Lumograph I have. It's blue, but it is darker. So the black, meaning it's a darker graphite, I suppose. It's almost like a charcoal look to it. I'm curious because I was, like I said, I thought it was going to be a 3B. I looked for 3Bs in the store on a whim to try to see if I could find. Then I'm going to buy a bunch of like dozens of these, and I don't want to buy sets. So I was looking for open stock in this one, and they didn't have a whole lot of options in 3B, unfortunately. But I wanted to see how that pencil is going to look, and it's not that far off. I mean, so you can get maybe, and they're different companies, and different companies have different shading, different hardness and blackness of their pencils. So I kind of feel like this Lumograph was intended to be like a competitor to the Blackwings, and because this is very similar to like or maybe even just trying to fight with the Japanese graphite market, I guess. I don't know, because it's what's popular right now and has been for a while, that people like to draw manga and stuff, and regardless of what country they're from. So I'm just going to draw a box. I try anyway. Make sure I'm using the right pencil. Yeah, if you want to get better at your lines, like, not saying that I'm doing great right now because I'm kind of drawing at a weird angle. If you want to draw better, if you ghost, you can actually get much more confident lines. Just an idea. Just do a little scribble here. I've always been chaotic with my shading and stuff. Just how I do it. I mean, I can do it other ways, but I said this before, but it feels like a colored pencil, like a black colored pencil. And it feels a lot like that with the Blackwing feels like that a lot too. So keep that in mind. If you like a softer pencil, this one is a little harder, and not just because it's a 2B, because that's more of the shading. And obviously it gets softer. It does get softer the higher you go. That one's considerably sharper. I'm not sure what the difference is in the formulation or anything like that, but there's a box for the Blackwing. It is time. And again, let's try. Yeah, that lays down far darker. Not that there's anything wrong with, in my opinion, having a bit of chaotic lines. I just think it's good practice to do that, to ghost. Again, ghosting is just, if you don't know, ghosting is just going from point A to point B without actually laying a line down and then going for it. You do it like, a handful of times. When you're practicing, you can do it for hours if you want to, but do it like 10 times and then lay a line down, and 10 times lay a line down, and then eventually you'll get pretty good at it. I will say that this pencil being softer too, it tends to lose its edge much faster. So they're bolder lines when you're drawing with it. I'm referring to the Blackwing pencil. But again, the advantage to these pencils is I never really cared for built-in erasers. They're usually crap, right? These are not crap. These are really, really good. They're certainly better than this little Dollar Tree thing that I have. You can see it used to say like apple on it. I don't know what it says. Blazing apple? I have no idea. They're like scented erasers. They work for the most part. But if you want a more controlled erase and something that does a much better job, obviously get yourself a better eraser than that. But this has more like the harder erasers. That's what these are like. They're like not the really soft rubbery stuff, but it's almost like nylon. But this isn't. It's a little tougher than that is, but it's still got a grip to it. But anyway, it lifts the graphite beautifully, and I can show you that. Let me show you the difference, okay? So I'm going to just do, for the Blackwing, I'm just going to do a little scribble right here. And then I'm going to take this pencil, and actually I'll do the same thing with this over here. Let's do it here. I'm trying to lay it down pretty thickly. Okay, so Blackwing up north. Now, if you were to erase with this on the Staedtler, right? All right, that's what you get. And if you do it here, all right, so we'll get some graphite in the tooth. What I like this for is this. Look how clean that looks. It's sharp, and it can clean up the erasing that this didn't want to. Now, you're not going to completely erase it off without tearing the paper. But the point is, that leaves a much more controlled line, almost completely erases it away. Now, it isn't designed for that pencil. It's designed for this one. So you can see how much of a difference that makes, erasing what it's meant for versus erasing what it's not. That eraser is just really good for that pencil, and I think that's worth buying them for. Like I was trying to say, these aren't exactly the same shade. I just wanted to show you the quality of like being able to erase it. If you erase, as well as the different kinds of things you can do with it, just so you can see the difference in how the lines lay down, you can see they're really very similar. The only difference here is definitely the darkness of the shade. And again, it's not really a fair comparison because this is a 2B. The 602, I think, is more like a B. So I was trying to get something that was close to this. And like I said, I couldn't find a 3B. So that's the best I could do. I do like this pencil, though. Don't take this as I don't like it. And I love Staedtler stuff because I actually have a Technico that I use all the time for ink sketching. My idea, anyhow, was to try to get something I could compare it to and see if I like this one as much as I do these others, or if I like any of them. Because I've always used like crappy #2 pencils. Like I'm talking Dollar Tree #2 pencils to do under drawings. I'm going to do a colored pencil. I would do it that way. For ink under drawings, these are a bit dark, but they could work if you're doing comic style, like I said, because then they'll pop really hard against the paper. And then when you go to ink it, you might actually have to bring it down